Hey everyone, my name is Oliver Turner. I am the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development for America's Gold and Silver. We are a growing silver and multi-metal producer focused with our primary asset in Galena in Idaho in the United States. We also have the Coastal mine down in Mexico, and over the course of the last year, just after we took over the company, we've been scaling production in the US in silver, copper, gold, lead, and antimony.
All the buzzwords. Well done. Good to see you, Oliver. Look, we saw you back at Beaver Creek only about a month or so ago. And I think you're back safely back at base. Look, saw the headline, and Paul was very keen for us to understand that this was really, really important. The Galena number 3 shaft now completed ahead of schedule. What can you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was a huge accomplishment for us. We did it about 2 months ahead of schedule. Originally, all of the work was supposed to be backloaded into December. We had several different parts arrive early, which was a wonderful job by the procurement crew. And what it's allowed us to do is to split what was supposed to be a longer shutdown in December into 2 shorter periods of shutdown while we do this work at the mine over the course of October, and then the second phase in December. So what have we accomplished with this first phase? We've replaced the hoist motor on top of the number 3 shaft. That's the primary haulage shaft at Galena. That's been replaced with a 2250 horsepower motor. It's about a 500 horsepower increase over the 1750 horsepower motor that was there before. So what does that mean in terms of production numbers, in terms of stat? What does that get us? That allows us to hoist faster. It allows us to hoist heavier loads. And we've had some record days in terms of hoisting. So it's been a phenomenal start there with this new hoist in. We also now, and this is very important, we have redundancy in the shaft. We have a second hoist motor that's right next to that original, the replaced hoist motor rather, is right next to the new hoist motor, which, you know, in the case that anything goes wrong, we can swap that other motor right back in. So that really de-risks the operation. So in terms of tonnages per hour, this whole upgrade is going to take us from about 42 tons per hour all the way up to about 118 to 120 tons per hour. So let's turn that into tons per day, and then everybody can do the math in terms of what we'll be moving per year. So currently, over the course of this year, the mine has been doing about 300 to 350 ore tons per day. This will get us over 900 ore tons per day by the time these 2 phases are complete. So really, really proud of us being able to get that done ahead of time. It also allows us to, for lack of a better word, debug a little bit of that initial work. So when the second phase comes in, anything we need to tweak, we can get done then. And the second phase will involve the addition of a new braking system, as well as a new communication system and weighing system, which will then allow us to ramp up towards that 900 ore tons per day. So great job by everybody on site, and led by Evan Peltier, who's our GM there. I've said this on your platform before. Evan was the guy that ran the Macassa mine for Kirkland Lake Gold and Agnico. He's, you know, a deep mining expert, has done a phenomenal job there with the crew. So phase 1 complete on the shaft, and some exciting upgrades that we can talk about in the mining space, but really happy to get that work done.
Yeah, okay. And like, as much as I want to talk about hoist systems and skip weight measurements, etc., I think it's I want to focus on the benefits, right? So given this is kind of this phase 1 development complete, is there anything that you've kind of taken from there that you can kind of feed into phase 2?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So obviously we've been testing the capacity of the hoist motor and just how fast we can move. For context, we've changed our skipping time from about 8 minutes down to 6 minutes right from the bottom level of the mine. The prior hoist couldn't necessarily hoist a full skip from the bottom level of the mine. We're down to 5,600 there, but we're only half the depth that obviously Lucky Friday and Hecla are. So this allows us basically to hoist faster, hoist more ore, and be more efficient in what we're doing. So that power and that additional torque that's in the motor, we're collecting all of those stats right now, optimizing them. And then once you combine, let's think about a car. You combine your power with a really good braking system. That means you can go faster around the track, right? You can accelerate faster, you get more power, you can also brake faster into those corners. Same thing when you're hoisting, you're allowed to brake, or you can brake closer to that loading pocket, which basically just reduces the amount of time to get more tons of ore. out of that mine and ultimately make more money.
Right. Okay. So a lot of engineering, a lot of optimization, efficiencies in here, and I'm sure a lot of changes in terms of that integration into kind of shift patterns, manpower, power draw, quite frankly, and etc. All being done at the same time. Again, just want to stick with kind of the I guess the focus on benefits to your shareholders. This shaft, the number 3 shaft, I think you're calling it, this upgrade. Does that allow you to kind of get down deeper and sort of get after some more of this kind of higher grade veins that you've been finding?
100%. I mean, right, as I said, right now we're at 5,600 level. Look, this mine is going to be going on for decades further, right? And it will absolutely be reaching the depths that the Lucky Friday it is at currently. All indications are that the best grades and thicker intercepts are below our feet here. That we've got for to put it simply, an embarrassment of riches when it comes to resources at Galena, right? Over 170 million ounces combined right now. And some of the drilling that we've been focused on inside of the mines, that's above the 5,600 level, has been to basically upgrade grades. We talked about that 34 vein and the 149 vein kilogram and 24 kilogram hits. So replacing the 400 to 450 gram material that we're mining now, which by the way is still in the top 5 highest grade silver mines in the world. It is a very high grade operation. But can we get it back to that 650, maybe even 700 that was achieved in 2002? That's what we're focused on with some of this drilling. And then as we get deeper, the indication, of course, is that grades are improving with depth as they are with our neighbors in the Silver Valley. This more powerful hoist motor will basically completely take the handcuffs off. We won't have any limits for going deeper. And if we decide to extend that shaft later on in the mine life, there won't be any limitations that are there from the hoist motor. So more power, more reliability, deeper basically extraction, hoisting more at the same time, modernizing it and making it really the workhorse of the mine.
Right. Is that a case of like for now, or how does this tie into like your 5-year drill plan? For instance?
Well, I mean, so the fact that we can go deeper and we can target some of these other areas with this, in the hoist motor, just goes into the plan that we've always had. We've always had plans to drill deeper. In fact, if you remember that long section we've had plans even to drill back up dip because we think a lot of that was missed by previous operators. Obviously, with these silver prices, and this kind of sort of parlays into the mining side of things, you're getting a whole bunch of new areas that are opening up. With the core mine, which is connected to Galena, right? It's all part of that Galena Complex. The core mine was shut down when silver prices were, $12, $13 an ounce. We are now more than $30 above those prices, right? Which is phenomenal. So the economics in some of these areas are just leaping off the page at us. So we're not slowing down. We're not basically prioritizing one thing over the other. We're, for lack of a better phrasing, we're doing it all at the same time. We're trying to find higher grades. We're reevaluating current areas. We're applying that long hole method to new areas, and we should touch on that here in a second. And we're going to be looking deeper, particularly below the Caladay. And this hoist will allow us to do that if we decide to expand deeper later on.
Right. Okay. So obviously, silver price is doing all sorts of wonders for lots of people. I guess your job is to focus on controls around costs. So as well as the kind of shaft upgraded shaft integration. Ore sorting, mill capacity, process upgrades. What else are you guys looking at?
Yeah, so no mill constraints at this point in time. We've got 1,200 tons of daily, tons per day of capacity between the two mills on surface. The Galena mill is 750 tons per day. You've got the core mill, which is 500 tons per day. So we're very, very well positioned there to process higher tonnages. So the goal over the next 18 to 24 months is ramping up that tonnage. For now, we're going to be able to do close to 1,000 just out of number 3 alone. The core will obviously be switched back on as well from an ore hoisting perspective. You've got Caladay over to the east, which is further into our plan. So filling those mills first. Then what's next of the mills is, look, there is absolutely room to expand those further down the road as well. So as we get mining ramped up with this long hole method, expanding tons coming out of the mine, being able to hoist it out. And remember, it's not just ore tons, right? You've got to hoist your waste out of the mine as well. So combined tons, I said 900 tons of ore. This thing is going to do 1,600 to 1,700 tons of ore and waste right out of the gate. That'll expand up to 1,900 tons capacity once we have all of these phases complete. So it just provides a lot more flexibility. You get your waste development in to get mining rates up. And this mine has so many different levers that we can pull to expand for extremely low cost.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Look, I know you're limited for time, but and it was a expected announcement, but nevertheless, and I appreciate you making the time. Can we just jump onto other things, such as silver market, and I guess maybe start with antimony as well. We've seen some great headlines coming out of North America. U.S. government seem very keen to fund and invest into companies that can deliver for U.S. Department of Defense, now renamed Department of War. And it's done wonderful things for the share price of those companies. You have antimony. What are you doing about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, in fact, it's we've mentioned this a couple times. This is actually currently the only producing antimony mine in the United States of America. Galena is the only producing source of antimony mine in the U.S. That cannot be understated. We put out 2 releases over the course of this year, one in May and then one just in September, right ahead of when we saw you at Beaver Creek. To summarize those 2 releases, basically, we reconfirmed via test work what was already done in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, before antimony production and processing was shut down in the U.S. in the early 2000s, and all the production came out of China. This mine was producing antimony and selling it to all sorts of U.S. suppliers and U.S. customers for many, many decades. So we redid the test work. We've actually optimized it a little bit. We're getting 99% recoveries of antimony of the tetrahedrite. So that's the test work. But what's happened over the last 24, 25 years since 2001? This mine's produced over 20 million pounds of antimony without focusing on the silver copper ore that contains the antimony. We set this at Beaver Creek. Remember, there's silver copper, silver lead. The focus of the last decade has actually been on the silver lead because lead was paying the bills, not the silver. So that's an artificially low antimony production number. The other thing to remember, as we transition into more of this silver copper ore, right, because that's where the higher grade silver is, that's where the copper is, with all of which we're now getting paid for as part of that renegotiated contract, that also is going to increase antimony production. As we scale the silver copper side of this story, antimony just comes along for the ride. So not only are we an expanding silver producer, we're an expanding antimony producer. Production is going to be going up over the next several years. So after those 2 phases of test work have been announced, obviously we've drawn a lot of attention from a variety of different parties on how they can help us accelerate the next phase of work. We've got some more work that's being completed right now. We're doing some internal study work on what the processing side could look like, because right now we are selling our antimony up to the Tech Trail smelter, where we're going to be getting paid for it as of Jan 1. But obviously with what you see, and you mentioned it, in the United States right now, particularly in Idaho, right? You've got Perpetua, you've got Sunshine, you've got a number of these antimony deposits that are not producing right now, we are producing right now, that are drawing huge sums of money, particularly from the U.S. government. It's $2 billion from Exxon going into Perpetua. You've got some staggering numbers that are being shown here. And even on the processing side, U.S. Antimony announced a $250 or $245 million contract with the DOD, or DOW, I guess it's called now, for purchase of their antimony ingots. So the U.S. government wants to buy this product. People want to be pushing these projects forward. So obviously we've got our heads down. We're doing work on that. What does the next phase look like? How do we accelerate refinement and extraction of antimony in Idaho, in the United States, in an antimony circuit? That's exactly what everybody's focused on, and we're certainly part of that conversation. So very exciting times. What does that mean for shareholders? It means significantly larger byproduct credits, right? You're expanding your margin. Again, we are always going to be a silver-focused producer. That is our job, and that is what we're focused on. But at Galena, you get the lead, you get the copper, you get the gold, and you get the antimony essentially for free. Those tons are already going to be mined for the silver. Along with them come those byproduct credits, and the numbers are certainly exciting in terms of what that could drive in terms of margins. So let us do some more work. We're going to continuously update people on our progress. But you hit the nail on the head. It is a very exciting time to be not only talking about antimony development in the U.S., as you've seen some of these releases and share price response. What about existing production, and what about expanding existing production in the U.S.? That's exactly what Galena provides.
So very quickly on the market. So I appreciate that on the antimony yield. But we'll sit back and wait for you to tell us how you're getting after that, and how those conversations advance. But Anthony, definitely on the lips of everyone. When it comes to the macro, you mentioned we're at $47 today, right? The price is right. I'm interested in like how you make money. Clearly, the margins there. There's a period of investment, reinvestment underground, which you are doing. What are the kind of natural stages that you're going to go through until we get this into a revenue generating, high margin company? Because those companies are getting rewarded, those companies are getting bought out, those companies are doing mergers. So can you just talk through that kind of process through to actual cash, actual revenue generation, which is benefits the shareholder?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're seeing jumps in revenue right now, obviously, of what we're currently mining, but Galena, and let's focus on Galena because that's 90% of the expansion focus of the company. But it is definitely worthwhile mentioning. Khosla is heading into that EC 120 zone and will be a 2.5 million ounce a year producer for the next 7-8+ years, and with tons of exploration potential. So cash is being churned out of Mexico, but what about the cornerstone asset in Galena, and what are we doing there? So for the last, call it 7-8 years, Galena's averaged somewhere around 1.4 to 1.5 million ounces of silver. For all the reasons we've discussed previously on your platform, we are obviously, and we've been out there stating our first target, and I say that the first target, this is not where we're stopping, is to take Galena back to 5 million ounces of silver per year, and then beyond. And when you look at the infrastructure endowment that we have, there certainly are lots of opportunities to go beyond 5 million ounces per year, but we're going to start with that initial target. What have we focused on to get the mine there, right? When we took over this company and this asset earlier on this year, there was a significant amount of investment that was required to get there, which is why we raised the $50 million in October and the $100 million of debt in June of this year, US. So what have we been working on? We just talked about the shaft work, right? We're executing on that strategy to de-bottleneck our primary haulage shaft, or hoisting shaft. We've been transitioning the mining method. We are going to and reintroducing longhole stoping. We talked about some of the success while we were at Beaver Creek with you there on that first longhole stope. One of the updates I have for you now is we're already developing the second and third stopes, longhole stopes right now. The idea of going forward is going to have 3 stopes blasting, 5 stopes in development, and constantly cycling those panels through to get that tonnage up. So there's investment in waste development and drilling, of course, that goes into setting up those stopes. To mention the comment on silver prices opening up a lot of new opportunities with us that I said earlier, it's very real. It's absolutely very real. Areas that, at $25 silver, which is where we were budgeting right at the beginning of the year, believe it or not, that we basically ruled out and said, look, we've got a huge resource here. Let's go tackle some other areas. Well, all of a sudden, a lot of those areas are very interesting because they are extremely close to existing mining fronts. So while you're there, why not take that panel and why not take that stope? So that's allowing us to do a lot of work to bring in new areas to the mine plan that are going to drive additional cash flow generation for shareholders. So let's take a step back. This year has been investment in equipment, right? We actually just have another 5 pieces of equipment underground. So all that stuff is just pouring down the shaft and being reassembled there, which is fantastic. We've been working on the shaft. We've obviously done a massive transformation of the whole team there and training up the existing great people that are there, adding some new bodies. Next year, the real rate limiting step, let's call it that, on longhole stoping is the paste fill plant, right? This mine has not had a paste fill plant. That's what you need to backfill your stopes, basically support your stopes, so you can go on to mine the next big one next to it. That one needs to be supported before you can mine that one next to it. So we're in the advanced engineering stage on the paste fill plant, already putting out orders for parts. That is going to be assembled in the first half of next year and constructed. So second half of next year, we're off to the races in terms of setting up these stopes and getting them filled. So the cash flow generation inflection point after this year of investment, 2026 is going to be a fantastic year, and we don't need these metal prices in order to have that stuff hit the balance sheet, hit the bottom line. So all of this is happening at the right moment in time. We're generating revenue while we're doing this, right? Because we're already producing and we're going to be scaling very, very quickly. but the unlocking of these new areas, which just accelerates everything, is very exciting. And these metal prices, and it's not just silver alone, right? I mean, some of these other byproducts as well are looking pretty handsome. So great time for shareholders, and our track record of scaling production at Core kind of speaks for itself. We did that in much harder metal price environments, and that mine, the Beta 109, was a 1.8 to 1.9 gram underground ore body in gold. We don't have a sea of low grade here. We have a tremendous amount of very high grade, highly profitable ore. So start watching the quarters as we get into the first quarter. We're going to do what we did last time at Core. We're going to deliver, and you'll see that share price get that quant momentum. And look, I mean, in this environment that we're all enjoying, as investors, as people that enjoy the mining industry, everybody is enjoying what's happening with these share prices. But that's where you really put gasoline on the fire and turbocharge things. And you're right. Look, I mean, there's obviously a lot of eyeballs on us from multiple different parties. That's going to continue, but heads down, execute, deliver the mining plan, do what we do best, and continue to spread the word on platforms such as yours and with the institutions that support us, and this stock will be going higher.